Hello everybody and welcome to day 2 of this mini video series I've called New Year Neo You. I'm not going to repeat too much of what I said yesterday, but it's really about the idea that when we step outside of the mainstream way of doing things, we can really heal our bodies and we can elevate to the next level, get rid of illness, get rid of symptoms, get rid of pain, come off medication even, obviously with approval with your doctor. And there's some really amazing things that we can get access to once we separate ourselves from the mainstream, which I'm kind of calling the Matrix. So New Year Neo You is like finding your inner Neo, if you like. I've not thought of it that way, but it's really kind of igniting your inner healer. It's finding your inner Neo, taking the red pill, as it were, as opposed to the blue pill. The blue pill is the kind of set way of doing things, the mainstream way of doing things, and the red pill is kind of going on a journey of discovery and finding out precisely why the body might be presenting these kind of symptoms to you or for you. And yesterday I talked about my own journey with eczema for 30 years, always thinking of it as a kind of a genetic illness, and I got rid of it very quickly by changing the environment in my body. And I was always given different kind of symptom masking treatments only, steroid creams, antibiotics, prescription moisturizers, not good stuff. So today I want to talk about what I'm calling your army of defenders, also known as your immune system. And obviously this is very important for what we're going through right now. Nothing is more important right now than we have a strong immune system. And we keep on hearing of pre-existing conditions and comorbidities, but no one, as far as I can see, in the mainstream is really discussing what is creating these underlying conditions. And that has been my main focus for almost 6 years now. Yesterday I talked about chronic inflammation, so now I'm going to talk briefly about what it is. So imagine your immune system is there to protect you, which it is. And it's always there to keep us safe, keep us alive, making sure we're thriving and fending off bugs and viruses and threats on the body. The immune system has a very, very important function. Chronic inflammation is basically an indication of an overactive immune system. It's already dealing with things, with threats, with toxins, whether the toxins are physical or they're mental. So physical toxins, for example, that your body does not recognize. There's a hashtag when it comes to food. There's lots of different types of toxins, but when it comes to food, there's a hashtag that says if you don't recognize an ingredient, your body won't either. Hashtag inflammation. So inflammation is really your immune system protecting you from foreign or alien intruders. It's like your immune system sees something that enters the body, the immune system goes, whoa, what is that? And it goes into a state of defense. It's a very healthy immune response. If we didn't have it, we'd die. And the thing is, when this happens again and again and again, the body starts to create different symptoms. And it's almost like a messenger. I think of symptoms as messengers, or really, illnesses are symptoms which are messengers indicating that change is necessary. In my case, that was eczema for 30 odd years. For someone else, it might be asthma, which is chronic inflammation of the bronchial tubes. Standard of care, localized steroid inhaler. What about getting to the cause of the swollen, inflamed bronchial tubes? Arthritis and gout, that might be your kind of weakest link, as it were, in your genetic code. There's lots of different things that we regard as illnesses, but really they're chronic symptoms of an underlying cause leading to chronic inflammation. So imagine that we've already got some level of toxicity in the body. It's probably easiest to think about food because that's the most obvious things, but there are environmental toxins as well. There might be fumes out there. There might be electromagnetic radiation that we're not used to, causing harm on our cells, causing immunosuppression. There's all sorts of toxins that we are exposed to. There might be mercury in the mouth, or there might be a toxin or pathogen in the gut. Something is causing an inflammatory response, and the body creates a symptom depending on your genetic code. So really, the immune system is phenomenally powerful. If you believe in any kind of creator or nature or some kind of force of energy that's created these incredible bodies, the immune system is incredibly strong, it's incredibly intelligent, and it is very, very resilient when we look after it. So one of the fastest ways to get rid of inflammation is to remove toxicity and put in to the body fuel that's going to fuel the body at the cellular level. So there's lots of different toxins that might be in the food supply, environment, etc., etc. So we take out the toxins, we put the fuel in, that's an immediate start to getting rid of inflammation. And a blood test, by the way, that I recommend everyone get, at least maybe twice a year, is high sensitivity C-reactive protein, one of the main systemic inflammatory marker blood tests. No doctors do this naturally, so we need to, or rather by systematically. So we need to request those or pay for them. And then we can find out if we have this systemic marker or an elevated marker of inflammation. And then we can just do what we can to get rid of it. And it's really not that hard. So imagine that the body is already toxic. Imagine we already have chronic inflammation. And again, sometimes we hear about pre-existing conditions like type 2 diabetes, type 1 diabetes, or cancer, heart disease. All of those start with chronic inflammation. So instead of thinking, oh, I have a pre-existing condition, how about thinking, okay, I've just got a bit of inflammation in my body, because they're all really symptoms of chronic inflammation. So if we go, okay, let's take the toxicity out, put fuel in, calm the body down, I talk about 4 pillars, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual, but ultimately it's detoxifying the body. That's how we get rid of inflammation. We just detoxify it across every pathway, and it doesn't have to be that difficult. So going back to the Matrix example that I mentioned earlier, and New Year Neo-You, I'll just give you a couple of examples. The blue pill way of doing things, which is the mainstream way, and again, for 6 years I've helped people reverse things outside of the mainstream, and I've interviewed people on my podcast who reverse incurable illnesses according to Western medicine, and the way they have healed their bodies is by stepping outside of the mainstream, outside of the Matrix, and then they go on a healing journey and reverse all of these things. So blue pill example, you have eczema like I did for 30 years. Every single time I get a flare-up, I go and get antibiotics or drugs or another drug, immunosuppressants, for example. Immunosuppressants suppress the immune system. That doesn't sound like a very good idea, does it? Prescription moisturizers, steroid creams, they've literally torn or removed pigmentation from my skin. That's the standard of care. That's the blue pill way of doing things. A couple of months ago, I was approached by a parent, and their young child had very bad eczema, or really mild eczema, and they went to go to this dermatologist, and what they were recommended to do was create this cocktail. And I could not believe what she was telling me, but it was prescription moisturizer mixed with a steroid, mixed with a topical antibiotic. So they started applying that to their child, who I believe was 6 or 7 years old, and it just got worse and worse and worse, leading to topical steroid withdrawal syndrome. And it was like his skin all over his body was red raw because of the medication. So that's the blue pill way of doing things. The red pill way is heal the gut, take the toxicity out, finding where there is toxicity in the body so the body can heal itself. Another example might be Graves' disease and Hashimoto's, overactive thyroid, underactive thyroid. The standard of care, if you have an overactive thyroid, in the case of Dr. Amy Myers, who wrote the autoimmune protocol, she irradiated her thyroid. That's what they do. That's what the Western medical industry does in the case of overactive thyroid. So she irradiated her thyroid and then started to take medications, which she's now on for the rest of her life. That's the blue pill. The red pill way of doing things is, hang on, why is this happening to my thyroid? Why is there, it's actually on an electrical standpoint, there's actually less electricity going to it. It's low voltage to an organ. So instead of going, right, I have a disease, take a medication, go, why is that happening? And it's normally down to leaky gut. So what she has done for the last 10 years or so is help people reverse any thyroid condition by getting to the cause and helping people avoid an operation or avoid that irradiation of the thyroid, because she retrained in functional medicine, which helps you get to the cause. So blue pill, take some drugs. Red pill, go on the journey of discovery and find out why the body is out of balance, creating symptoms. And by the way, this journey is really quite exciting. It doesn't have to be boring and dull. We don't have to starve ourselves. We just replace things with other things when it comes to food. We become aware of the toxins in the environment. We remove ourselves from exposure to them, or we limit them. And then we just load up on exactly what the body needs at the cellular level. So it doesn't have to be that difficult. So to summarize, what is this whole inflammation thing all about? It's ultimately your immune system protecting you from foreign or alien intruders. physical threat or perceived threat in the case of chronic stress. If we're constantly trying to escape a saber-toothed tiger, the body is in fight or flight. The blood drains from the gut. The energy drains from the gut. That's where 70 to 80% of the immune system is located. So we need to be in a very high vibrational state, out of fight or flight, to have a healthy gut, as well as take the toxins out. So really, inflammation is your body protecting you from foreign or alien intruders. We take those out so the body can heal itself, and then we're more resilient to the likes of bugs and viruses, whatever they are. Whatever they are. So I have 100% faith in my immune system right now. I'm not going to take any kind of injection of anything, absolutely not, because I trust wholeheartedly in nature, in my own immune system, and I will absolutely stick to that. And that is how powerful the immune system is when we look after it, when we understand what the symptoms are and don't just ignore them. The other thing about taking medications, by the way, when you start taking medications, they actually cause harm to the very organ you want to repair very often, which is your gut. Some medications cause leaky gut. They cause inflammation themselves. So some medications cause the very thing you want to heal, which is why when we get older, it's not actually unusual to be in a whole cocktail of medications as we age, because one drug seems to solve the problem initially, but it's actually ignoring the underlying problem, and it's causing more harm to the body. So a few years down the line, it's not unusual to be prescribed another medication for a new symptom. So this leads to a spiral, like a pill for a pill society, when we're taking a pill for an ill and then a pill for a pill. And it's this spiral, and it's not unusual, again, to be on this whole cocktail of medications when we die, and it's not at all a biological norm. The human body is so much better than that. The human body does not get sick because of a pharmaceutical drug deficiency. The human body gets sick because it's got toxicity in it ultimately. It doesn't have to be very complicated, and it's ultimately down to toxins and trauma. Those two things are what lead to almost every chronic illness out there. So, I've probably spoken a little bit quickly. I just saw my battery light come on. Tomorrow, I'm going to be talking about the root cause, if you will, of why no one is shouting and screaming this from the rooftops. Because when I found out about this in my early 30s, I thought, why is not everyone talking about this? Because I just read a few books. And then I understood something very, very important about training provided to medical professionals, which started in 1910. Something massive happened in 1910, which changed the entire course curriculum taught to medical professionals for over a century. Fascinating. All natural methods were taken out of the course curriculum. So, I'm going to talk about that tomorrow. I hope you found that useful. Share if you found this useful. Know that the body can heal just about anything. One of my favorite phrases is, your body's ability to heal without drugs is greater than you have ever been allowed to believe. Thank you for watching. Please share if you found this useful, and watch out for day 3, which is tomorrow, of New Year Neo You.